Hi everybody, welcome to YS Khong Driving. And what are we doing today? Well, today is a revisit to the Honda HR-V, which I drove maybe about a year ago. And actually after a year you would have forgotten totally how it drives. Well, I remember vaguely at that time it was very nice to drive. So now 1 year down the road, we are taking the car out again for a road test, and this time we're going to drive it slow and we're going to see how it drives. So right now we are on the highway. We've just joined the NKVE from Bandar Utama and going to mainstream, and we're going at 198 kilometers per hour and we're on the highway. So at 100 kilometers per hour, how does it feel? Actually, the HR-V still feels very good. It's quite silent, but of course the only thing you hear at this speed is only the tires, because I think the tires do create some kind of resonance, yeah. But in terms of engine and transmission, you can't hear anything at all. So if you go at 90, you can hear some sound. It is actually just the tires. So in terms of soundproofing, it's okay lah. So remember that this is a B segment SUV and it's based on the Honda Jazz and Honda City platform, basically the same platform as the B segment cars, and they've raised the suspension and given it a SUV look. So mechanically, the engine is slightly different from the Jazz and the City in that this one runs a 1.8 liter engine, so you get 140 PS. So you get a bit more power. That's because of the extra weight of the vehicle due to the bigger body, yeah. So I suppose people will want to know how it compares against the Corolla Cross, because the Corolla Cross is very fresh and very new, and so that's the latest excitement in the market, waiting of course for the new HR-V to come. So let me just tell you how I feel. Now in terms of driving power and feel, there is not so much difference between the two, so you can say they're quite close. The only difference is actually the size. This is a B segment, so the wheelbase is 2600. Now the Corolla Cross is based on the Corolla, so it's actually based on the bigger vehicle. Oh, there's a roadblock here. Okay, the Corolla Cross is based on the Corolla, which has a 2700 wheelbase and wider car, so it's actually a bigger vehicle. But of course for the Cross, in order to make it handle as well as the sedan, they shortened the wheelbase a bit to 2640. So in actual fact, the Cross has got a 40 mm difference in length in terms of wheelbase, and so the overall length is a little bit longer than the HR-V. So in terms of driving, you won't know the difference driving the two cars. The engines are similar horsepower, so we are driving along and it feels pretty nice. So do you feel the difference in size? Yes, I have just driven a Corolla Cross just back to back, and you feel this one is a little bit smaller. It's very, very little, but it just feels a little bit smaller, but it doesn't make it any worse of a car, yeah? So now both the cars, or both the vehicles, have a CVT gearbox, and so the gearbox behavior is quite the same, or rather very similar. So if you're just driving an automatic and you need a family vehicle, there's not much difference between the two. Of course, the Corolla Cross is fresher and it has a few other features that this one doesn't have. However, this one has 6 airbags. It also has got traction control, and it also has an Econ button. Yes, this one extra feature here, which the Corolla Cross doesn't have, is the Econ button. So the Econ button actually helps to save you some fuel, because then it detunes the engine and it restricts the amount of fuel going to the engine when you are driving, in order to get you better fuel economy. So this is something that the other one doesn't have. And in terms of seats, I think the Corolla seats a bit bigger. This one is a little bit smaller. It is a smaller car, but if you are my size, it really doesn't matter. Okay, there is a S mode, sport mode, that allows you to drive a little bit more in a more sporty manner. Yeah, that's our corner, and yes, there's a little bit of tire screeching, because this car is basically an understeerer, because it's front wheel drive only. Yeah. So this is our cornering test. Yeah, you can't shift down, but you can shift to L and keep the car in a lower gear. How does it handle? Okay. So we are in low gear to keep the gear low, and now there's some traffic here. Okay, let's do it again. Nice. Okay, so if you handle the steering correctly, it's okay. You just slow down here because there are cars coming out. Okay, here's another chance. Feels good. Yeah, this car is actually very easy to drive. So we put it back into D now, and we will continue our drive. Take one of the side roads. We're in the Ara Damansara area, and and this is a very nice neighborhood, a little bit on the quiet side, so we can actually enjoy driving here at normal speeds. Yeah, we're going over the rumble strips. And it feels actually quite nice to drive. Okay, it's got rack and pinion steering, so it's actually quite precise. It's electrical, by the way, and car feels nice lah. Acceleration. Oh, it's the Econ mode. Okay, let's turn off Econ mode. Now, acceleration in Econ mode is a bit of a struggle because the fuel is being controlled, but let's make a U-turn. And accelerate. Yes, go, go, go. Okay, this is in D mode. Well, it's a family SUV. What do you expect? Okay, let's put into S mode and see how it feels. Okay, this is in S mode. A little bit faster. A bit more urgent, but not a lot faster. Okay, back into D. Brakes are decent. Well, that's the CVT rubber band. Well, what the CVT does is it selects the best ratio for you and gives you the best torque at that moment in time to get your speed up. So it does tend to be a bit noisy, but if you're a normal driver, well, if you're a sporty driver, you won't be buying a car with a CVT, right? Yeah. So if you are a normal driver, you are okay with a CVT because you are not expected to drive very, very fast or accelerate very, very hard. And here is how it feels if you're driving normally. So we just taken the corner and we're just accelerating normally, and it feels very normal. Okay, right? Okay, this is corner taken at about 90 kilometers per hour. It feels quite stable, yes, quite nice. So whatever else is said and done, this is still a good car. Okay, so in one of my videos, somebody asked me whether the car is a bit jerky upon takeoff. That was on another car with a CVT. So we will see what happens now when the light turns and we're going to accelerate off. Let's see whether it's smooth. Well, normally it is very smooth lah. And the thing is, I never actually looked at it before from that angle. So I'm going to have a look-see and see whether this HRV will take off smoothly or not. Okay, light turn green. The car has moved, we will move. Very nice and smooth. So it actually depends on how you throttle. If you just throttle normally, it should be okay. If you punch it, of course, there will be a bit of a kick, you know, as the engine and the transmission response. So normal driving, very nice, you know, we're driving at 70 kilometers per hour, and you wouldn't even know it's a CVT if I didn't tell you. You only feel it when it's driving, when you're pushing it very hard. But other than that, it's lovely. So easy and so nice to drive. I think that's why a lot of housewives love it. So if you ask me how I feel, let me just say it like this. Inside the vehicle, it feels like any other vehicle of this category, yeah? And of course, you know it's a Honda. So the way to compare it is, how do you compare it to the other two vehicles that share this platform? Basically, the Honda City and the Honda Jazz. Well, driving the HRV, the difference is, of course, you're sitting in a slightly higher position. So you feel a bit better than driving in a sedan, which is why the SUVs are now becoming more popular. Yeah. And because it's a 1.8 liter engine, it feels more powerful than the Honda City or the Honda Jazz. Despite the fact that the Jazz and City are a little bit lighter. So the additional 300 cc's make a difference, the 1.8 liter versus 1.5. Yeah, so there's a 20 PS difference, about 18 or 19 horsepower difference, and I think that makes a big difference to the driving feel. So I would say that the HRV feels better to drive than a Honda City or a Honda Jazz. So finally, the question you want to ask is HRV or Corolla Cross? Well, here's my opinion. Well, actually, you shouldn't compare the two vehicles, because if you want to compare the HRV with a Toyota of equivalent size and whatnot, it should be compared against the Yaris Cross, because the Yaris Cross is based on the Yaris or the Vios, which is a B segment vehicle, and so is this HRV. The Corolla Cross is a C segment vehicle, so when you sit in the Cross, it is bigger. Definitely, you can feel the difference, yeah? And of course, the height is also higher. So it is a totally different vehicle. Even though the engine sizes are the same, on the road, the speeds and all, there's not much difference. In terms of handling, there's not much difference between the two, because basically both the cars are built in very similar way. McPherson struts in the front and torsion beam at the back. But in terms of size, when the car is slightly bigger, the ride over the bumps, and of course the Corolla Cross has bigger tires. Of course, the difference between this HRV and the Corolla Cross is the price. The Cross costs a bit more, in fact quite a lot more than the HRV, and so that is the difference lah. So if you have an affordability issue, the HRV will do the job. If you want a bigger car, then you have to pay more. It is a bigger car, no denying the fact. So, alright guys, whether you choose the Cross or HRV, they will still both do the job, and that decision, well, it's up to you lah, whichever you like. Some people like Honda, some people like Toyota. I'm okay with both. I'm alright with having the HRV or the Corolla Cross. So, well, here's a good solution. Buy one this time and buy the other the next time. Then you will have the best of both worlds. Or you can buy a his and hers and have one of each. I just told that to one of my friends who wanted to buy a car. They want to buy, or rather he and his wife both want an SUV, and they are undecided whether they should go for the HRV or the Corolla Cross. So I said, why don't you just take one each? Brilliant idea, isn't it? So, alright guys, that's our revisit to the HRV, and thank you very much for being with us. Till we meet again in the next video. Bye bye.